Hello, welcome to What Do Sexual Assault Cases Look Like in Our Community? Case File Review. This is the third microlearning in our Case File Review series. So today, first we will discuss the purpose of the Case File Review chapter in the workbook. Next, we will provide an overview of the activities and handouts in this chapter, before finally discussing how teams can move from the do stage of evaluation into the reflect and apply stages of evaluation. This microlearning series is a part of our rural project, supported by the Office of Violence Against Women. We would like to thank OVW for their support of this work. My name is Miranda Gonzalez, and I am one of the Rural Project Coordinators at SVJI at Mincasa. I have been with Mincasa for going on 2 years now. Previously, I was a community-based advocate at a dual service organization.
And my name is Fatima Hayoma. I am the other Rural Project Coordinator at SVJI at Mincasa. I've been with Mincasa for 3 years now, and previously I was a multilingual advocate and prevention education coordinator. Before we begin this microlearning, we would like to take a moment to remind everyone of our definition of case file review. Case file review is a systemic process of examining case files and identifying themes within the criminal legal response. It can help determine if established policies and protocols are being followed or if any deviations exist. Additionally, the review can identify gaps and barriers that hinder an effective community response to sexual assault. It's important to note that throughout this microlearning, we will be using the term case file to refer to all legal documents and records gathered in response to a reported sexual assault. This can include reports created by law enforcement, forensic medical examinations, and prosecutorial notes related to interactions with the victim survivor. We at SVJI recommend using closed cases when using this form of evaluation. This microlearning focuses on the second stage of our evaluation model, which is executing the evaluation. At this point, the team should feel ready to complete the actual review. The first 2 microlearnings in this series provided an overview of the planning stage of the case file review. If you haven't watched the first 2 microlearnings in this series, we recommend going back and reviewing them. The purpose of the case file review chapter is slightly different from other chapters, as it focuses on action and is filled with handouts that teams may or may not need to interact with during their review process. However, before teams jump into reviewing their community's case files, this chapter provides the team with a mock case to practice the decisions they've made in the preparations chapter. The other handouts in this chapter provide examples of a schedule for a full day of reviewing cases, as well as a document to record the preliminary findings made by the entire team.
This chapter of the review workbook contains 1 activity and 2 handouts to be used during the actual review. In practicing the structure of the review, teams will read the mock case and provide feedback like it is part of the review. This allows teams one last opportunity to adjust any decisions made in their preparations before they review community cases. This could include modifying agreements for discussion or methods used to provide feedback. We will also review 2 handouts the teams will find helpful when completing this review. If you are following along in the workbook, you will find the page number of each of these activities on the slide for your reference. By reviewing a mock case, teams will be able to test out the decisions they made in the preparation chapter with less pressure than members may experience when reviewing cases in their own community. This activity may be completed during a team meeting right before the actual case file review, so that adjustments are made in a timely manner. When reviewing this case, use the anchor question. How does our community respond to alcohol-facilitated sexual assault? Remember, there are no correct or incorrect answers. Team members are encouraged to think critically on the information provided in the fictitious case notes. There are a few things members should keep in mind as they are reviewing this mock case. First, remember that the review is an evaluation of systems response, not an opportunity to blame an individual service provider. When team members notice each other pointing out a specific person during the mock review, it can be helpful to remind each other to refocus on how the protocol and collaboration between disciplines is structured that leads to the outcome of the case. The mock case is also an opportunity for teams to practice upholding confidentiality. It is highly probable that even if case files are redacted, a team member may recognize some of the cases under review. This can be especially prevalent in communities where sexual violence is often not reported to law enforcement. When discussing the mock case, team members may notice times where they are at risk of violating one discipline's confidentiality standards. During the debrief of the review, team members can share these moments and ask for support from the facilitator so that this does not happen during the actual review. Finally, all team members should be aware of groupthink. This occurs when many team members agree on a theme or idea and begin to develop a consensus. However, when developing this consensus, one person in the group may disagree and not speak up. This can be because they do not want to be seen as a negative person on the team or another power differential. In the mock review, all team members, with the support of the facilitator, can practice fostering an environment where everyone can voice their thoughts and remain centered on the victim-survivor experience. Within a 90-minute team meeting, members should read through the mock case and document their preliminary thoughts. This is an opportunity to practice documenting using the observation and checklist tools developed during the preparations chapter. Team members may then discuss their observations and develop some preliminary findings based on the case. Once the team has developed these findings, they can then debrief the experience. We recommend teams spend an hour reviewing and discussing the mock case and use the last 30 minutes to debrief the process. Some questions the team may consider to include: do we need to update our agreements for discussion? Did the team notice any moments of groupthink? Did the team experience any challenges when completing the mock review? For example, some team members may share the font of the case notes was difficult to read. teams should document their thoughts and changes within the workbook so they can understand their process behind these decisions once the review is complete. Included in this chapter are 2 handouts that teams may find beneficial depending on how the team determines to structure their review. The first handout provides an example as how teams may structure their review if it takes place in one 8-hour day. It also lists out the materials that teams will need in order to complete the review during that time period. Some of the materials needed may vary based on the wellness needs of each team member. We at SVJI would also like to recognize that some teams may not be able to complete a case file review in a single day, and that is okay. However, we would like to acknowledge that the more meetings teams need to take for the actual review, the longer it may take to complete. The second handout teams will find beneficial while completing the actual review is the Preliminary Themes Worksheet. This worksheet can be used to summarize all observations and case discussions for the team. As a reminder, by taking notes within the workbook itself, teams will create a historical document to reference later on.
After completing the actual review, it's important for the team to take a break. Most teams choose to take at least a month off from meetings. As a part of their wellness plans, team members should be encouraged to debrief with their organization and share their experiences, specifically discussing what went well and where improvements could be made in the future. Lastly, some teams may need to meet to discuss other SART-related matters before returning to the case file review. For example, they may participate in training events unrelated to case file review. When wrapping up the review, the team should select a day to review the preliminary findings and regroup for this project. Today, you learned about the purpose of the 3rd chapter in the Case File Review Workbook. You were given an overview of each activity in this chapter, and we discussed the next steps once teams complete the actual review. Thank you for following along with us in this microlearning. If you have any questions about case file review or other topics related to sexual assault response teams, please reach out to us at svji@mincasa.org.